So let me start by apologising for not making a video in such a long time. It's been probably over a month now. And the first question you have to ask yourself is, what on earth have you been doing for that month? Well, the video really is to explain that, because I was going to do a video later on. I'll explain what it was, but I figured that actually people would just be wanting to know what was going on and wondering what was going on, and you know what it's like. If there's a void, people fill it with their imaginations. Now, our devices aren't just good. I mean, they're awesome. I mean, the results we're getting from them are absolutely awesome. On the supercapacitor end of things, we're talking about 8 times what a commercial supercapacitor can do. On the battery end of things, we're talking about aqueous-based batteries that are far exceeding lead acid. They're up to nickel hydride, and they're encroaching on lithium ion. So we've got absolutely marvellous devices, fantastic, and we want them out there. Now, we have a number of choices every time we do something, obviously. We were thinking about hand-making the Twizy battery and sticking it in the Twizy to show you that our battery could work. Now, we know our battery works, and that would give us information, but it wouldn't give us all the information that we would actually need, because one of the really important things to do, obviously, is to go to mass production. We want to be able to make these things in great volume so that we can sell them, so that we can put them out there into the market and have people get the benefit of them, and that's the aim of it. So what we decided to do, was part of our decision, was to make a step in that direction. Now, the step you make in that direction is to go from lab bench to pilot scale to full production, because pilot scale gives you all the information that you're going to need in order to be able to translate it into a fully fledged factory. When you do something on the lab bench, you often do things that you're actually not really thinking much about. You just kind of do them. You know, when you take a beaker, you carry it from point A to point B. Because it weighs a few hundred grams, you don't even think about it. But when you're doing something in a large scale and you're making a few kilos of this stuff up to a ton of this stuff, then you're talking about tens of kilos that you have to move. So one single batch can easily weigh 100 kilos. My question is, how do you carry 100 kilos from point A to point B safely? And have the stuff, what do you need to know to process that stuff safely? Because when you do it in a beaker, of course, you just lift it up and scrape it out, no problem. When you do 100 kilos of the stuff, it suddenly becomes a problem. So what we've been doing is going through the production process from the input of the precursors, the stuff that we take in, how we go step by step through the entire process in a volumetric kind of way to produce the final end result. Now, if we were to do all that by hand and make the Twizy battery, it's probably going to take about 3 or 4 months. And it would give us information that, hey, yeah, this battery does that and it runs the Twizy. If we do it through a pilot line, then it's probably going to take round about the same amount of time, a little bit longer as it happens, but we still get the Twizy information, but along with that we get all that information on how to actually mass produce it. And that's the decision that we made. We made that decision that we were going to go through that process. So we have been going through that process. It's exactly what we've been doing. We've been making kilos of this stuff in a step-by-step method, noting down everything, so that we know exactly what equipment it is that we need to produce a given volume of material that will produce at the end of the day a given number of batteries with a given kilowatt hours. So we've been working through that process in a step-by-step method, including absolutely everything we need to do from point A to point Z, going through B, C, D and E, all the way through. We also get a good idea, obviously, in fact we're getting a spot-on idea of the equipment that we actually need and how much that's going to cost. So we've been working up what we're calling the use of funds, that is, how we're going to spend the money, what equipment we're going to buy, where that equipment needs to go, how we're going to lift everything, how we're going to process everything, and still get at the end of the day the same end result we got from our laboratory experiments. And we're there with that stuff. So we've also been acquiring the stuff that we need, and obviously the first thing that we need is premises. So about 3 doors down, actually, in the same estate, we've managed to acquire another 4,500 square feet. And that 4,500 square feet is in fact the square footage that we'll be using to set up our pilot line. Now, we can only go in there on October the 1st, so I was thinking about waiting for October the 1st and then doing a walk around with you. But then I thought that was a bit too long, actually, and what would be helpful is an interim video where I'm explaining where it is we are and where it is we're heading, which is what this is all about. So we've got the space, we're starting to buy the machinery, and we're starting to have the quotes for the ventilation systems and all the air cleaning, water purification systems you're going to need. Because obviously when you're doing a beaker load, it's not too much of a challenge. When you're doing litres and litres and you have to clean that before you discharge it, and you have to make sure that any gases coming off are cleaned before they're vented into the atmosphere, it becomes a different story. So we have to do that stuff, and that's the stuff that we've been doing. We're getting the people in to actually help us put in that. We're getting the quotes on those prices. We're going to have that stuff built into the new factory space, so the factory space is clean and efficient and doesn't produce any toxic waste. I mean, one of the great things about our system is the waste stream is very low. Having a low waste stream doesn't mean you have a no waste stream. We have a low waste stream. We still have those cleaning procedures to do because we're in a light industrial park in the middle of a housing estate. We want it super, super clean, so we're making sure that we do all of that stuff, and all of that stuff has to be done anyway. This stepwise process of going through creating the pilot line will at the end of the day produce the battery for the Twizy, and we'll be running the Twizy, but it will also produce that invaluable information of how to go to full-scale production. So that's what we're working on at the moment, and that's what's taking so much time, because obviously you make a little mistake and you're throwing kilos of stuff away instead of a few hundred grams. But we've made sure that we're buttoning down those mistakes, because at that translation from lab to pilot is not as expensive as it would be if we tried to go straight to full production. We don't want to make tons of mistakes, in which case it costs an enormous amount. We want to make a few kilos of mistakes, in which case it can cost us nearly as much, until we button that process down completely. So we've buttoned that process down completely. We're busy buying the machinery, we're busy, we've got the space, we'll be fitting the space out for our pilot line, and we're really quite pleased with where we are. Now, of course, we haven't got all the money that we need, but we're making a start with what we've got because we're incredibly stubborn people, as you know. So we've split it up into 3 stages, and the first stage is precursor production, and then the next stage is actual device production. Device 1, which will be a supercapacitor, and then device 2, which will be a battery. And we're following that through in that logical stepwise process, and we're not likely to deviate from that. I call it wagging the dog. I don't let people wag the dog. So I don't let people come along and tell me, hey, if only you did this, then you would get that. I have a fixed idea in my mind about what the steps are that we need to take, and I'm pretty convinced. Now, I may be making a mistake. It's my mistake to make. I don't think I am, and I'm not likely to deviate from the plan that we've actually got. And the plan's going really well. As I say, the devices we're producing are just knock your socks off awesome, and we want to make lots and lots of them and get them out there and finally have our technology, a nice safe technology, out on the market to make a difference to what we're actually doing. But I didn't want you to think that we weren't doing anything, that we were just sitting there piddling around with stuff. We're not. We're working really quite hard 7 days a week to get this process up and running and done. Once we get this thing done, of course, then we can go to full production so much more easily. Now, when we take the space and we have the things come in, be assured I will be doing a walk around. I will be doing stuff where you can see where we are, but I didn't want to leave it with you wondering where we were. I wanted to keep you informed, and I'll try to do more videos, but it does take an awful lot of my time up doing this stuff because I have to get it spot on. Anyway, I hope that was of interest to you, and thank you very much for watching.